In this video, we will explore the advanced setup of your newly created webinar named Test. Click the Edit button. You will be directed to the administration, where you'll find 3 tabs: Configuration, Marketing, and Automation. We will concentrate on the first tab, Configuration. In the General Info section, the first 2 fields are Name and Title. Both fields pertain to the webinar's name, with the distinction that the name field is your internal reference and is visible only to you as an administrator. Meanwhile, the title is displayed to your users on the registration page, in the live room, or in email marketing. In most cases, these fields will be the same, but if you need to show a different title to the user, use the title field. The link section is used to link the video to the webinar, as demonstrated in the previous video. If you need to change the video, use the Edit button. In this section, there is another box labeled Redirect Link after webinar ends. By default, it is empty, meaning that after the webinar ends, the user will remain in the broadcast room and see only information indicating that the webinar has ended. If you wish to redirect the user to another page after the webinar ends, such as your sales page, fill in this field and enter your URL address. The next section is Timing. Here, you'll find the familiar Duration field, which you filled in when creating the webinar via the YouTube link. As mentioned earlier, we cannot determine the video length from external sites like YouTube, so it needs to be filled in manually. For videos from our library, this field is always filled in automatically. The second field, Time Zone of Webinar, is used to set the time zone against which the webinar start time will be calculated. If your users are in a different time zone, you can adjust it with this setting. However, in most cases, there is no need to change this box, as your users are likely from the same country as you. The most crucial section of the Configuration tab is Scheduling. This setting will be reflected on the registration page, showing your user the nearest start time of your webinar. By default, it is set to broadcast every day at 8 o'clock in the evening. You can modify this value to weekly or monthly, giving the impression that you broadcast a webinar only once a week or month. Over time, you will discover which option is most effective for you. If you want to broadcast the webinar only once and not repeatedly, change this field to 1 time. If a user visits the registration page after the deadline, they will be informed that there are no further schedules. This option is useful when you want to offer only a unique date that your customer should not miss because the webinar will not be repeated. Additionally, there is a special option called Just in Time. The purpose of this option is to maximize the benefits of automated webinars. With this feature, you can schedule the webinar broadcast at regular intervals, for instance, every 15 minutes. Additionally, you can align the broadcast with real-time scenarios using the active hours setting, such as from 9 in the morning to 5 in the evening, representing standard working hours. You also have the flexibility to combine different scheduling options. Use the Add Schedule button to include another option. Set it to Daily, and this combination will display the first date on the registration page every quarter of an hour, while the subsequent broadcast date will only be provided to the user the next day at 8 p.m. We'll demonstrate this shortly. However, you might be interested in the number of dates actually displayed to your user in the registration form. This setting is located on the second Marketing tab in the Registration Form section. By default, the Display Upcoming Schedules field is set to show the 3 nearest dates. Change this value, for example, to 4 and save your webinar. Now, view the registration page of your webinar, where you will see the 4 webinar broadcast dates in the registration form. The special type, Just in Time, is always applied first, showing the nearest quarter of an hour, while the other 3 schedules already apply the daily setting. This approach creates a more authentic experience for your user, conveying that it is not just an automated webinar, but a live broadcast until the next day. We recommend experimenting with the settings in the Schedules section to find the combination of dates that best suits your needs. Now let's cover the last section in the Configuration tab. Once again, click Edit for the webinar and scroll down to the very bottom, where you will find the Replay option. You can enable replay for your customers, and it is set to the next day by default. If you prefer to make the replay available immediately after the webinar ends, choose the option the same day. After that, set how many days the replay will be available. For example, the next 5 days. These were the basic settings of the webinar. In the next video, we will explore the Marketing tab.